Buzz.
Hello and welcome to MMA Buzz Episode 4, the East Coast MMA Chat, where three friends get together for some brews and talk about MMA, upcoming cards, and industry news. We are coming to you pre-recorded from our Fredericton, New Brunswick studio. I am Rodney Mann, that's Rodney Mann on Instagram. Joining me today
is Trevor Grever Lutz, known as Grever on Instagram.
And rounding out the panel,
Nick Brown, known as NHBrown44 on Instagram.
Follow us. Seriously. All right.
We're sweet.
If you are unfamiliar with MMA Buzz, we like to start off with what we're drinking. We are all drinking local brews, coming to you, like I mentioned, out of New Brunswick, Canada. Today, I am drinking a 1772 India Pale Ale from Gahan Breweries on PEI. Grev, what do you got?
I've got the SPCI IPA once again, just like on the second podcast. It's based out of Moncton, New Brunswick, of the Pump House Brewery. It's a great, great beer. It's every purchase is $1 towards the SPCA and helping out the animals around New Brunswick.
Shout out to Pump House. Nick, what do you got?
I've got a Propeller Revolution Russian Imperial Stout coming from the John Allen Brewing Company in Halifax, Nova Scotia.
Delicious.
It is delicious.
Everything we have here, just a bunch of thick brews. If you are new, thank you for checking us out. Make sure to like and share. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube, MMA Buzz Radio on Facebook and YouTube. Tell your friends, pass it around. And if you don't like it, let us know why. We want to know. We want your constructive feedback so we can make it better. So what are you going to hear about today? Well, we've got a very special episode coming to you guys. We are going to review UFC 195 that just happened yesterday. It was a really amazing card capped off by Robbie Lawler versus Carlos Condit in a war. We cannot wait to talk about that. And then afterwards, we are going to give you our 2015 Hangover year in review. And we are going to talk about our favorite events, our favorite submissions, our favorite knockouts, favorite fighters, and of course we're going to bring you our segments for both the UFC 195 review and our Hangover, our half-cut uppercut, and our full bladder splatter. So let's hop into it, guys. Last night, what a card. Holy shit. UFC 195 coming out of Las Vegas. We got to see pretty much the most well-rounded card in memory here, even though we had very stacked Decembers. But, going all the way down to the prelims with Dustin Poirier and Duffy fighting on the early prelims. There was a reason to tune in from the beginning straight through to the end. We're just going to start at the top of the card. Robbie Lawler versus Carlos Condit. Robbie Lawler improving to 27-10 and still UFC welterweight champion. Looking like a boss while he's doing it. Carlos Condit, I think that was the best Carlos Condit we ever saw, and I think it really is a testament to how good Robbie Lawler fought. Carlos Condit, of course, dropping 30-9-0. He used a lot of range and volume to kind of sway the judges to a very close call. It was 3-2 for any of the judges. There was no, I think it all came down to the chatter is that it's all coming down to that third round. That was really the pivotal point, and it really all depends on where you scored that. But let's hop into what is easily the fight of the year in 2016.
Yeah, it's a insane fight from start to finish. The fifth round, we were all losing our shit here. Like, my voice almost hurts today from just going absolutely bonkers. The volume of strikes that Condit was landing was crazy, but at the same time, the amount of damage it was doing wasn't the amount that Robbie was bringing back in the 50 only strikes he was landing. But you could even see it on Condit's face at the end. I think that's what the judges actually were looking at too. And then the fifth round too, with the swarm that Robbie had for the 5 minutes. It was wild.
He knew he was down.
Yes, yeah. Oh yeah, he did just like he did in the Rory fight. He goes berserker, and that's why people love him. Great way to start the year. Perfect.
I'm not usually very happy to see a fight go the distance, but that one, I was just waiting for more and more the whole time, so...
Yeah.
Round 6.
The whole night overall, there was lots of fights on distance that were great. And no complaints.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, Robbie really showed the heart of a champion and showed his cardio was, on top. Yeah. It was there was some real grit and grime getting through there, and you could tell by the end of it when both the fighters, having just banged it out for 5 minutes straight, both threw their arms over the edge of the octagon, and they couldn't even bring themselves to congratulate each other or even boast to the crowd. They were just so beat. They were exhausted.
They embraced each other a little bit after that, but yeah, you can tell it's like, oh man, like that was a war.
Yeah. So like talking about the 6th round, there was some. It was definitely a close enough fight that I would pay to see another 5 rounds of that in a rematch. But Greg, you were mentioning, you heard rumblings in the Twitter sphere, I suppose you could say, about Carlos Condit possibly having retired after this fight or looking to retire soon, and he did confirm that in some post-fight interviews. What do you think?
He's had a very long career. He's in his early 30s, I believe, but he's been fighting for forever.
13 years?
13 years, yeah. He was very young when he started. He has fought in Japan, all over the world. And just his style is very violent, very hard on the body in general. And he's had some bad injuries, like the ACL injury he had sustained during the Tyron Woodley fight, which it can be a breaker for people to look at what happened to Shogun in his career. It can really hurt the career. But I really hope he comes back. Even Robbie is saying right now that he really wants a rematch. And it's awesome because he won it, but he wants a rematch. They want to fight again. At least Robbie wants to fight, but Carlos has the heart. I believe he will.
I think we'd all be happy to see that fight again.
Yeah, I think so. The thing about Robbie Lawler here is, like, if this stands up for the rest of the year, he will have been in 3 Fight of the Year candidates in a row.
His head
2014, Robbie Lawler Hendricks. 2015, Lawler and Rory McDonald. And now we have Robbie Lawler and Carlos Condit, which is setting the bar really high for what needs to happen if anybody's going to beat that in 2016 for Fight of the Year.
Yeah. Man, his head must hurt. Like, in those wins,
Carlos
he would still take a lot of hits. Oh, yeah.
That was fucking hard to watch. It must have been hard for him to see, like, what he was shooting, because it was, like, so swollen.
That swarm at the end.
Yeah. It was good.
Warriors.
If you missed the fight,
Warriors.
you need to tune in. Get yourself some Fight Pass action and check it out, or find it on your favorite streaming site. Anything else we want to mention about that fight? I mean, I think we're all just sitting here like a little bit, looking back at it a little bit speechless.
Still in awe.
Yeah, it was just so crazy.
In my notes here at the end, it just says Warriors.
yeah. Well,
just a note of it. Yeah.
if Carlos doesn't retire, is this a fight we see at UFC 200? Maybe.
Yeah, I was mentioning that earlier, and it would be great.
I agree.
It'd be awesome.
UFC 200 is going to be a whole card of championship fights.
Yeah,
at this rate.
Why not, right?
Yeah.
Like UFC 100 was great, and why not put another crazy ass show for the fans?
So I guess looking back in time, UFC 100 and beyond, we saw in our co-main event a former heavyweight champion, Andrei Arlovski, taking on the up-and-comer Stipe Miocic. Stipe showed his power and speed, really catching Andrei Arlovski with an amazing, I don't know, was it a counterpunch? It was sort of like in the pocket, so it was more of like an exchange. Yeah. Sent Andrei Arlovski a little bit skewed, landed one close to the back of his head, and then kept it coming, knocked him on his face. Just a really beautiful knockout in the first minute. That power was on point. Like, he was just so strong, and really, like, shout out to Mark Hunt's chin in that previous fight for Miocic. Like, that was hard to watch. We were actually commenting on that, like, hoping that didn't happen to Andrei Arlovski. He'd die in the cage.
Yeah. Not a lot of people can take that damage.
Oh, it was crazy. Stipe beating Arlovski, snaps Arlovski's 6-fight win streak. Stipe calling for a title shot to Dana in the crowd immediately as soon as he
screaming at him.
Do you think that's an effective strategy? Are we gonna see Miocic fighting for the title?
It's kind of out there. There's Rothwell and Josh Barnett. There's Overeem in the play now too. It's gonna be tough, but I believe he's gonna get it with the winner on February 6th against the winner of that.
Nick, with Arlovski, on such a hot streak and then getting dispatched in such a quick turnaround. What do you think Arlovsky has to do to get another shot at going up the rung?
I don't know. It's hard to say at this point. I almost felt like that was Arlovsky's last round of a title shot. I could be wrong, but
he's fought a lot of years.
I was kind of hoping he'd win to get his title shot. I wanted to see him get it, but I don't know if he's gonna make that run again.
Yeah.
This fight actually gave me a flashback to during the Strikeforce heavyweight tournament to when Brett Rogers KO'd Arlovsky with a swarm. It almost seemed like Arlovsky thought he could take the second shot from Stipe. He took it, but then so many more came right away.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Stipe's power for a big guy like that's pretty, speed for a big guy like that's pretty standard.
Great, yeah. He's a firefighter too. Guy works his ass off.
True. Yeah. Solid matchup, and definitely did not disappoint. So I guess we'll keep on going down the card unless anybody has anything else to mention about that fight.
No.
Cool.
No.
Well, that's good because the next fight was fucking amazing.
Yes.
Albert Tumenov, Lorenz Larkin. Real close matchup. The leg kicks from Lorenz Larkin were really doing a number on Tumenov's leg. I mean, you should check out on MMAfighting.com. They've got a close-up picture and on Bloody Elbow of his leg, and it is just torn apart. There's like red blotching on it.
Meat. Just beat meat.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, but I mean, Tumenov showed how strong he was and how good of stamina he was. He was still he was throwing that leg for kicks, like high kicks, and he was
still in the third.
Yeah, he was still in it. I know you guys are real high on Tumenov, so I'll let you guys talk about the fight here. Nick, what do you think?
Oh, it was a great fight. I mean, both of those guys won, in my opinion. Doesn't matter what your record says after that. They both look good. It was definitely a hands versus feet kind of fight, which is what I expected going in. And yeah, just Tumenov's leg again. What that leg reminded me of was Uriah Faber talking about after he fought Jose Aldo.
Yeah.
And just how bad his leg was for months afterwards.
Yeah. Grev, you're in love with Albert Tumenov, so...
Oh, yeah. And I've been a big Lorenz Larkin fan since Strikeforce, too, man. I've actually talked to him on Twitter back in the day, too. The Monsoon. I forget the actual name of it, but really cool guy. But it was an incredible stand-up war. After the fight, we actually said last night, we could watch another 3 rounds of that right now.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Those spinning kicks of Larkin to the leg in the third also were great. They were like Andy Hoog back in K1 days. R.I.P. Andy Hoog. Both came out winners for sure. And I don't see Larkin putting down any totem pole at all. I think he's going to get a bigger fight also. But Tumenov, only 4 years old recently. He's going to be he's a great prospect. Can't wait to see what they do with him next.
Yeah, I mean, Albert Tumenov's got a lot of upward trajectory at 17-2. He was calling for a top 10 opponent now. So, assuming Lorenz can bounce back, he can keep his top 10 seeding, because I see Albert Tumenov beating someone in the top 10 and then maybe pushing Larkin out of the picture, unless he, like I say, can come back with an impressive win. But yeah, it'd be great to see what comes out of Tumenov moving forward. And as far as Lorenz Larkin, I just have to say, that hair was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
The Liberty Bell and everything.
Bell, yeah.
Like the foxtail.
Yeah, super cool.
Oh, it was so
Who's
cool.
his barber?
Yeah, props to you if you're listening, Barber. You did it.
Barber guy.
You impressed us. Okay, so, trying to keep our review on this event nice and short so we can move on to our 2015 Hangover year in review. So we're going to move on to our first segment. The half-cut uppercut. All right, guys, looking down the card, we had a few up-and-comers. We definitely had a packed card with some people that have fought for the title, some people that are definitely going to fight for the title, and, of course, people fighting for the title. But looking up and down the card, half-cut uppercut, I'm interested to see who you guys saw as the dark horse of the night. Nick, what do you have?
I'm going to give it to Abel Trujillo with a guillotine in the first round. It was an impressive way to not start the night, but start the main event.
Yeah, start the main event. Yeah, good point. Trevor, who do you have?
Yeah, I got Ortega on Brenau.
Yep.
Brenau, that was awesome. They really came from behind, got a nice triangle choke on another black belt, so it's great.
Yeah, I also had Brian Ortega, T-City. We all laughed at his nickname before, but it all makes sense with his 4th triangle out of 5 submissions in the UFC. He, apparently, if you roll with Brian Ortega, you are headed to Triangle City. So with that, he gets his 10th win, if you don't count the De La Torre no contest. Sitting undefeated. I think that guy has a pretty impressive future in the UFC. It's like he just walked up and it was like
cool hair too.
Yeah, he just walked up and just grabbed him and then did what he wanted with him. It's like he could have done that in the first round, but just decided to wait until it was embarrassing in the third.
Yeah.
All right. So next up, our next segment. The full bladder splatter. Who pissed the bed this event, UFC 195? I think we were all in
unanimous decision.
Yeah. 30-26. 30-26 and 30-26. Congratulations, you are fired. Andrei Arlovsky.
Pitbull from Belarus.
Had it all and lost it all in under, just over a minute, I think it was.
Yeah.
54 seconds.
54 seconds, okay, just under. Yeah, we searched hard for another full bladder splatter, but we couldn't find it.
Please do not do Russian roulette again, Arlovsky. You talked about Russian roulette after Brett Rogers, and please don't do it. You have a great career. You've done movies.
It'll be tough. It'll be interesting to see what they do with him next. What they do with him next.
Went through a really hard time after that loss.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, it's gonna take a couple of wins for him to get back in the title mix, I think. So yeah, any standouts? Anything else we want to talk about on this card? I mean, there was a lot of, like I say, ex-title contenders and future title contenders. Anything to stand out for you?
Yes, Michael McDonald coming off a 2-year layoff against Kanahara, a really good fighter that used to fight in Sengoku. Great fighter. Won his first fight UFC as the underdog against Bruce Leroy. Beer's kicking in. No, it was awesome. He was getting owned the whole fight, actually, for 7 minutes, and then he reversed a guillotine attempt to a rear naked choke and choked out Kanahara.
It was beautiful.
It'd be awesome to see what he does next. He did it so fast, too. It was great.
Yeah, Joe was
really
losing his shit when they couldn't
losing
get
his
the production
jiu-jitsu.
team couldn't get it back
Jiu-jitsu
over.
was just exploding in his brains. Yeah.
What do you have, Nick?
I'd like to talk about the Poirier-Duffy fight.
Yeah.
That one was bloody.
It was a real bloodfest.
The
Holy
underdog
shit.
won, too.
Yeah. It was a pretty good war.
Yeah, I kind of feel bad for those guys because they really did perform for no one. There was like a handful of people visible from the camera angles. I'm sure there was people in the higher, seats because it seems to be like the real diehards really can't afford the floor seats anyway. So they're hanging out in the nosebleeds
for all
watching
those pay-per-views.
Yeah,
they performed for Ireland.
Yeah,
the Irish fans.
I mean, I really had Duffy going into that fight too. I
too.
love Poirier. I like his style, and I really like him ever since he was moved up. But I really thought Duffy had it because of his, and it really looked like Duffy found his range there at the end of the first and into the second. But yeah, Poirier just brought the hurt once he figured out how to get him down and keep him down, and made him pay for that. I think Poirier is probably going to take a good look at his jiu-jitsu. He took time off to go box, and it paid dividends hard. Like, he is just so amazing. His style is great, and he can pick you apart on the feet. But it's pretty obvious he doesn't really have much of a ground game. So I'd like to see him go back to the drawing board as far as the ground game is concerned.
Yeah, and TriStar, they're going to look at all that and they'll figure it out.
Yeah,
He's got to be on a great team. So
yeah, love TriStar. Shout out to TriStar if anybody's listening to this in Montreal.
MTL.
We love you. Yeah.
Fofos.
Yeah, check that out. All right, well, personally, I want to just mention how good Joe Soto looked in his loss. I mean, that was a really close fight to call. It was in the prelims. Joe Soto obviously fought for the title against Dillashaw on 1 day's notice. Lost, but he looked amazing.
Great, also.
Yeah, he looked terrible in that fight, but he looked great last night. And I'm really excited to see what Soto brings in the future too, as well as his opponent Tanaka. Yes, yeah, those guys both brought it really good in the prelims. Awesome. So I think now we are going to head over to our 2015 Hangover. We forgot to cheers to kick off the podcast, so let's just do it to an awesome 2015.
Oh, the hangover from that. Wow. Especially after fight week in December.
Yeah. Well, I think we can all agree we had a lot more cards to deal with this year than any other year.
Yes.
With all the media, or all of the production obligations for UFC with the Fox deal. We're seeing a lot of cards on Fight Pass, on Fox, on FS1, and then of course the pay-per-views. We averaged 3 cards per month. Sometimes we had 5 cards per month. So I think suffice to say, the 2015 hangover is a real thing. You can see it on the eyes of some of our favorite media pundits and hosts of other MMA podcasts and other MMA shows. Namely, I'm thinking of like Ariel Helwani and those guys. Poor Ariel. I mean, he's got to be there for UFC, and he's doing his own thing on MMA through SB Nation. So, you can tell this was a hard year. But for us, I don't think we could have had it any better. We don't need to travel to all those events, man.
Yeah,
We're just sitting at my place watching it on the projector and then having a few beers to talk about it. So our hangover is a little different than theirs, but
No jet lag.
no jet lag, exactly.
And a little bit more money in our pockets.
No, I'd say they're probably
they're probably bankers. At least they're banking it going there.
Yeah, someone's footing the bill. I doubt it's them. So yeah, our 2015 hangover year in review. We're going to talk to you about our favorite event, our favorite submission, our favorite knockout. We're going to do our half cut, uppercut, and of course our full bladder splatter. And then maybe we'll get into talking about who our favorite fighters were. So let's move into our first part, the best event. Trevor, you go ahead. You have a really good one.
UFC 189.
Remind us
what
who
a
was
fucking time.
Remind us who fought on that card.
So there was McGregor Mendes coming in on early notice, I guess that you said, with the second round TKO Mendes. That was a fantastic fight, and it really showed McGregor can actually do stuff on the ground. Like he was really not making the shots hurt. There was Lawler, Rory McDonald, which is probably most people's fight of the year. We went absolutely bonkers for this back in July. Like, I still get chills of it thinking it, and sometimes I just watch it before bed. And, 5th round TKO there. There's the Stevens Bermudez, which was absolutely insane.
That was nuts.
War with the flying knee TKO in the third, excuse me. And then Almeida, Pickett. Oh my God. Like, a war, throwing down, then flying knee. I thought Pickett was dead. Like they should have just, rigor mortis kicked in right away. And then they got the Brandon Thatch gunner. Awesome. Dropped him 1-2. Choked him out. The Viking one. Fantastic card. It's great. I could go back and watch it multiple times.
It was an awesome card.
I'd show MMA, people that are getting into MMA, that card.
Available on Fight Pass. They're not paying us to say it, but if you like MMA, you should probably have it.
Yep.
Nick Brown, what do you have?
Event of the year for me was way back in January. UFC Fight Night, Gustafsson versus Johnson.
In Stockholm, Sweden.
Of course, Anthony Johnson is one of my favorite fighters, and he won by TKO in the first against the hometown boy, so not that I have anything against Gustafsson. And just some other standout fights on that card. And Mousasi knocked out Dan Henderson.
Really
Sam
quick.
Cecilia knocked out Akira Corsani. Makwana Mirkani and Andy Ogle. Nikita Krylov. Standing guillotine. I had to stop writing down impressive fights from that card because there were just too many. So
and there was like 20 fights on that card.
there were a lot of fights on that card.
They stacked it, but it was
Swedes
full
were
the whole
happy
time.
that day,
Yeah.
other than the main event.
Yeah. Oh man, I felt so bad watching him cry on TV.
Yeah.
Oh, it was
Yeah.
bad.
I mean, my guy won that night, but still, yeah, you gotta feel bad for him.
True. My best event goes all the way back to early 2015 as well, and it's UFC Fight Night Bigfoot versus Mir. And I'm not really... I have to agree with the other two picks, and really there were a lot of cards this year that were amazing as far as fight breakdowns and, emerging contenders and all of that stuff, and, so many belts being swapped this year. But the reason I chose UFC Fight Night Bigfoot versus Mir is because 10 out of 11 underdogs won that night. There was a $1 million loss for sportsbook bookies. Like, that is just, that is unheard of, you know? If you parlayed all of those bets, you would have been a millionaire in the 8 digits, you know? If you would have bet $1,000. So if you would have parlayed everything.
Oh, man.
So, yeah, I'm just saying that made me consider underdog parlays every other card after that. And I'm glad I didn't do that because it hasn't happened since, and I really doubt it'll happen again. But it is very notable that 10 out of 11 underdogs won on that card. And it just goes to show you anything can happen in MMA.
That's
you
why
do love the underdogs.
I love the underdogs, yes. My wallet
what
hates them.
makes this such a great sport.
Really regretting not voting or not betting on home Rousey for that underdog fight. But I guess she wasn't enough of an underdog at 11-1. So, moving on while I regret my past decisions on betting. We've got our best submission. So 2015, so many submissions, unless you ask Nick Moore, who's never seen one in his life before last night, despite coming to every card for the last 2 years. Nick Moore is our friend who comes by for fights, and sometimes we just think
extremely casual fan.
Yeah, we think he just shows up for the potato chips.
Yeah.
But best submission. Personally, I'll start this one off. I've got Rousey versus Ngannou. That could go down as the worst game plan in UFC history. Kat Ngannou, running and looking for that flying knee only to try to hug Rousey and convince her not to hit her, but then that didn't work much, and Rousey just leans back with the one-handed armbar, looking like a boss, and really cementing herself on the top. Obviously, I think we'll talk about the end of the year for her later, but I think that was just so badass. I mean, there were so many other ones. My honorable mention is definitely Luke Rockhold's one-arm guillotine over...
forgot about that.
Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah, over Bisping. My God.
Head kick to one-arm guillotine.
Just looked like a badass. Yeah, exactly. Just let him down and got up. Those are my picks. Nick, what do you have?
I'm going to jump outside of UFC for this one because we always say we're going to cover some other stuff, but we usually don't.
Shut up.
Hey, we'll get there.
Yeah.
Liam McGarry, inverted triangle on Tito Ortiz.
Oh, yeah.
That's my submission of the year.
You don't see that very often.
No.
Especially against Tito. Tito's a veteran. He's a really good fighter still.
Didn't see it coming.
No, definitely not. And Tito,
Liam McGarry?
Yeah, Liam McGarry, sorry. He had an impressive 2015 himself.
He did, yes.
Yeah. Beating...
Emmanuel Newton.
Newton, yeah. Emmanuel Newton, unfortunately, kind of falling apart in 2015.
He is, yeah. Poor guy, too. He's got one awesome, great taste in music, though. Known as a hardcore guy.
Yeah, that's true. The hardcore kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got really good taste in music.
So are you sticking in the UFC for your submission of the year, Trevor?
I am, yes. I got two here. I couldn't pick between. I mean, I picked Verdum Kane because of the stakes. It was a huge fight. Awesome guillotine. After staggering him on the feet, Kane went to his domain to one of the best jiu-jitsu guys in the world. Not just in MMA, but in the world. You don't take him down. And he proved, he's amazing on the ground. And this one's a little smaller, but Pepe versus Andre Fili. First round, flying triangle, out of nowheres. Grappled him against the cage, jumped in for a triangle, submitted him. Incredible.
That was pretty amazing.
Pepe actually had a great year too. Last couple years.
There's a few flying submissions this year.
Yeah.
There's one at Risen there just last night or 2 nights ago.
Actually,
flying armbar.
Flying armbar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Surprising
awesome
amount
too.
of flying and standing submissions this year.
Yeah. It was a great year for fights, and submissions really shone. I found there was a lot of people really leaning on the whole stand and bang thing. Like, I don't want to see a fight unless it's a knockout. But there's been some amazing submissions. Like, we had some real casual fans over for the fights last night, and just the high level of grappling that was going on in the matchmaking. Like, you can get some really amazing chess matches on the ground that end in submissions, or submissions that just come out of nowhere, like Ortega.
Yeah.
Like, it's just crazy
Yeah,
how
or
some people
even
can.
the Abel Trujillo.
Yeah,
Who would have thought he would have went for the guillotine? It was awesome. Like,
Well, he gave it to him, right?
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
A good friend of ours that's not usually makes fun of the fights while watching.
Yeah.
Because, just makes fun of it because a lot of the fights he watches are kind of mediocre or they're grappling. But because of the high level of grappling last night, he was really into it, and it was actually really cool to see.
Yeah, it was. It was really, really refreshing.
Yep.
Yeah, isn't that always the way it goes? I'm sure the hardcores that are listening to this can appreciate when you invite your non-hardcore fans over and the card's a huge stinker. Well, thank you, 195, for not sucking.
Yes. Actually getting the casual fan to be like, you know, this is... I can see why these guys watch it.
I feel like this is also...
These guys aren't freaks.
Yeah, exactly. And the matchmaking that's going on now is a more mature matchmaking than when they were starting with all of these fights, right? Like, I think they're really starting to fall... UFC starting, Sean Shelby, you know, is starting to fall into the rhythm of getting the high-stakes matches and really, like, you know, highlighting the up-and-comers and giving the gatekeepers another chance and all that kind of stuff.
Well, to go back to 195, Tumanov and Larkin, you know, they're not huge stars, but you can see that they're really looking into these two guys. Yeah. They really wanted to show the fans that these guys are up and coming and they are awesome and they're going to be the future. And they put them against each other, third fight of the night. When there's other fights in the prelims that might have been even bigger.
Oh yeah, I'm surprised they didn't bump it out for Poirier and Duffy. Really.
Yeah, but I guess it was because of the Irish fans and everything because of what happened with the fight night.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's move on to best KO of the year.
Oh.
Nick, why don't you start this one off?
I'm gonna go with Holly Holm over Ronda Rousey for KO of the year.
Bold. Very bold of you, sir.
Yeah. Speaking of us freaking out, holy shit.
Yeah.
Wish we had a camera going.
We messed up. Yeah, we were even talking about recording our reactions next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a good pick. I mean, a head knockout on top of that.
Yeah.
Or head kick knockout, sorry. Just nuts.
And the lead up to the fight and everything, it was... Yeah.
Should have touched the gloves.
Should have touched the gloves, yes.
Yeah.
The glove
like
touch curse. Yeah. Well, you know, I think that all the news after the fact about Ronda revamping her camp after that, I personally think it's a good idea. I don't think she's going to do it, and I think she's going to pay for not doing it. I think she's going to stick around at Tavares' camp and
be stubborn.
Yeah, and I think she's gonna get owned again, and you know.
She may retire after that.
Exactly. Like, that's the thing, is if she loses all of her steam, what's the point of sticking around? Yeah. She's gonna, you know, she'll never get a movie deal if she's got a 3-loss streak.
Yeah.
You know? No one wants to tune in for a has-been.
Yeah.
Trevor, what do you have for KO?
Let's see. I've got a few. I had the same pick of Nick's there. One that's not probably going to be mentioned much around the world is Tumanov versus Joe Brain. That was an awesome KO. Really crazy fight for the 2 minutes and 50 seconds, I believe it lasted. But the head kick, stagger to the right cross, to the left hook. No, the right uppercut to left cross. Face plant was really cool to see. But my personal favorite of the year is Almeida versus Pickett from 189. That flying knee, like I was saying, put him in the rigor mortis basically right away. His arms stiffened. His body was stiff. Feet clinched. Crazy KO for somebody that's super young and undefeated, 21-0, I believe. That's my KO of the year. Awesome. Shout out to Wonder Boy 2 against Ellenberger. Spinning back kick to the head.
Oh, that was crazy.
Can't go wrong with that.
Yeah.
Edgar too, Mendez.
I've got a few KOs myself. It's really hard to... Really hard, yeah. I mean, even while we're talking, I'm thinking of more. But, I mean, top on my list, Robbie Lawler, Rory McDonald.
Yeah.
That...
straight to the nose.
Yeah, exactly. The jab that ended it all with at the end where that just put Rory over the edge. Like, you can imagine how raw that cut was by that point and just getting one last punch. I mean, Robbie knew what he had to do. And it takes a special kind of asshole to punch someone in their broken nose over and over again.
Yeah.
You know, like, no offense to Robbie, but holy shit. You got to be hard as fuck to be able to put that much punishment on someone after you've already put so much punishment on them.
Berserker mode.
Seriously.
Even his nose anymore.
No, yeah, I'd love to see Rory after the fact. I actually haven't followed up to look for a picture of him after. I would like to see him a couple months removed from that fight to see just how well his nose has been fixed. He probably looks like Arlovsky now.
Yeah, Arlovsky's nose even looked worse than usual last time.
Yeah. So another one that came to my mind while we're talking about, I just want to mention is Hall and Musasi, was it? Hall had the spinning kick while Musasi went for Mousasi went for the takedown the exact same time and ended up getting kicked in the head sideways, and then Hall follows up with the knee, knocks him unconscious, and then follows up with the hammer fist and gets pulled off. Oh my god, that was amazing.
Yeah. I was very sad, but you know what? That's MMA. Both guys are awesome fighters, so it doesn't matter.
Exactly. I didn't have that one written down, but I am going to mention my last one. Makwan Americani doing the flying knee knockout. I think it was a TKO to Andy Ogle, even though I believe he was knocked out.
Oh, yeah, for a second.
Yeah, for a quick second.
TKO.
It was a TKO. Okay, yeah.
Mr.
Well,
Finland.
Yeah, I mean he went from 0 to hero overnight, and for someone who's a grappler to come out of the opening bell with a flying knee and smoke the guy. I mean, Ogle got cut right after that, so I think that's a pretty substantial knockout. There were some in Bellator that were just amazing. I know Manhoef took a knockout there that was just like make your chin hurt just watching it. I'm trying to remember who hit him.
Oh, that was
It was a championship fight.
Oh, maybe it was Shlemenko.
Oh, was it Shlemenko?
Oh, I believe. No, it's no. He fought another Glory fighter. Mm-hmm. It was the guy that Kyoto knocked out with a Superman punch.
Oh, Schilling. No.
Schilling, yeah.
Oh, it was Schilling, yeah.
Schilling
knocked him out.
Yeah.
Hell, fuck, Kyoto's knockout of Schilling was amazing.
Flying punch.
It was a flying punch. Yeah, it was like a Superman. It was like super weird.
But
it wasn't
then
a Superman.
Manhoef's KO of Kyoto
was also awesome. Oh, God.
Yeah, with the left hook out of nowhere. So
there's a lot of fights to look forward to in Bellator. I mean, there's a lot of filler in Bellator, you could say, but there's a lot of filler in UFC as well. I mean, it's just the way it goes with you want to take chances on so many potential superstars. You have to take a shot, and you need fights to fill the cards. So, I mean, it makes sense. There's going to be some snoozers, but I'm thinking Bellator is going to be huge in 2016, especially with Rizin and
you got Rizin coming up now, too, bringing that pride back. That was a great card. Loved it. Especially watching good old Andy Sauer making his MMA debut, the beat Nagashima, the cosplay Japanese fighter who's a kickboxer also. It was awesome. Nagashima spitting out his tooth was disgusting. But then the body shots for Sauer. I hope Sauer actually kind of retires from MMA. He's past his prime already in kickboxing, but that was awesome. And my favorite of all time, Fedor, of course, won. I'm kind of going off here on Rizin. We'll go back to what we were talking about, but I thought I would mention Rizin.
Yeah, Rizin was a good fight.
It was a great way to end the year.
Yeah, we're gonna have to play around with the format here, guys, so we can bring you guys some other events without blowing our wad on UFC, because we want to try to get as much coverage to you guys as we can in an hour or less, and maybe when we're not doing a year in review, we'll have that opportunity. So moving forward, we're definitely going to bring you more coverage from Bellator, World Series of Fighting, Rizin, Glory. I'm thinking, Legacy,
FC,
1FC, Road FC. There's so many good fight promotions out there right now. It's hard not to tune in. You could call us the Hardcores.
Yes.
So back to our 2015 Hangover year in review. We're going to do our segments on this. We're going to start off with our first segment. The half-cut uppercut. Who was the dark horse of 2015 for you, Trevor?
The dark horse. Let's see. We'll go with RDA. RDA was not supposed to win against Pettis. He was not supposed to at all. He goes in there and dominates him in any fashion of MMA possible. Striking, clinch, jiu-jitsu, wrestling. Completely took his soul.
Yeah.
And then he goes on to fight Cerrone for the rematch. And Cerrone, awesome, great fighter. Huge winning streak. He goes in there and blasts him with body shots, and then finishes him with strikes.
In under 2 minutes.
In under 2 minutes, yes.
Yeah, and Cerrone looked like a fucking world beater going into that fight.
Yes, yeah. RDA, I hope he gets that McGregor fight. That's going to be a gigantic fight if that happens. Maybe at UFC 200, I mean. 200, no, 200.
Yeah. Nick, what do you have for our half-cut uppercut dark horse of 2015?
Dark horse 2015 for me was Conor McGregor in the Mendes fight. Even though Mendes took it on short notice, I really didn't expect Conor to win that. I don't know if it's just I see someone with so much hype behind them, and I just don't want to believe the hype. He definitely deserved the hype, but I didn't see that one happening for him going in.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm still listening to Connor News and thinking, is this real? But, I mean, it's fucking real. It's hard to
Obviously, at this point, it's real.
Yeah. It's as real as it's ever going to be. Well, my half-cut uppercut goes to Holly Holm. Biggest underdog ever in a title match. Not anything of note going into the Ronda Rousey fight. A lot of kind of meh fights, and I think Robin Black pointed it out the best when he did his preview show of the Holm-Rousey fight, where he mentioned that every fight Holm had been in was really just a dress rehearsal for Ronda Rousey. And it was like, keeping her distance, using her range, landing those hard head kicks, using the jab. It was everything we saw in the Ronda fight. There was no surprises if you watch any of her other fights. Outside the cage, she's really just picked up where Ronda left off. She's a media darling. She's making the rounds on, the morning television shows.
Nice dance moves.
Yeah, she's so nice, but in the cage, she's just such a fucking savage.
Mm-hmm.
It's like night and day. So, I'm stoked on Holly Holm, man. She's got a beautiful smile and, looks like she's your, friendly neighbor. Can I borrow a cup of sugar? And then she'll go in there and rip your head off.
Yeah. Pound your face when you're already unconscious on the ground.
Yeah, exactly.
Blood spewing.
Ruthless.
Brutality.
The preacher's daughter has got to be the most ironic nickname.
Yeah.
But I guess she is, the daughter of a preacher, so it kind of makes sense.
Was it Anton LaVey? Is her dad or something?
Well, I don't know who her dad is, but whoever it is raised a savage. So let's move on to our second segment of our 2015 Hangover Year in Review. The full bladder splatter. Who pissed the bed the most this year? I'll start off this segment. I have two, but I'm going to say my number one, Cain Velasquez. Have you ever thought that there could be a heavyweight title fight where the champion has looked like that? I mean, they fought at altitude, let's not forget, but we saw the challenger, well, actually the interim champion, Verdum, train at altitude in the mountains in Mexico to make that fight, and then came out and embarrassed Cain Velasquez, who only came in with a week and a half's notice and went on roller coaster rides on the embedded episodes.
Yeah.
Trevor, I know earlier you were talking about Cain Velasquez, so would you agree?
Oh, yes. He's known as the Mexican fighter. But then he didn't even train in Mexico for this at all. And then it's funny because Verdum is actually the Spanish announce table person for UFC, commentator. And he put his whole 100% training into being able to fight there. But then Cain, who's supposedly, from there, he didn't even take the time to go down there and train hard and take Verdum serious for the amazing fighter he is. He has been awesome since he debuted in 2003, 2004.
Exactly.
You're right. You shit the bed, basically.
He pissed
really
the
bad.
bed.
Pissed
Absolutely.
Pissed and shit it.
My runner-up is Chris Weidman. I think he really caught a lot of steam with the whole join the team now. He was beating the who's who, but Rockhold's just another level of a killer and just came out and embarrassed him. So yeah, that's my second pick for full bladder splatter. Yeah, skateboarder, doing it for all the skateboarders. Props. Woo! Nick, what do you have for the full bladder splatter 2015 Hangover Year in Review?
My full bladder splatter for the year is Josh Koscheck.
He hates him.
No surprise to either of these guys. I mean, 2 losses by May?
He was just fighting out his...
He was fighting out his contract, I know,
exactly.
but you could try and win those fights.
Yeah, I suppose.
Not foam from the mouth.
Man, yeah, that foam from the mouth. It was worth it alone for that.
Looked like he was ODing.
He would have looked better going into Bellator on a couple wins.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I don't think it
rabies?
really affected his negotiating. Really,
no, not likely. I mean, he's still
rabies?
a name to put out there. I mean, yeah, he's had lots of great fights. So
that's a good full bladder splatter. Trevor, your 2015 Hangover year in review, full bladder splatter.
I've got two. All right, I've got Pettis because leading up to RDA fight, he was like talking about how he gets like 2-3 haircuts a week, showing off his bling with his brother, like doing all this stuff, and he embedded, and he just looked like complete shit in that fight. Got owned in every asset, like I was talking about. Like he really shit the bed. I feel kind of bad for him. Like he only fought once in 2015, and he got owned and hasn't fought again.
Yeah,
but he's fighting Eddie Alvarez.
Yeah,
in the
January 17th.
TJ, the TJ Cruz fight card. So it'll be interesting to see how he bounces back from that. My second is Reebok. Oh my God, Reebok! What a year! Who's doing your shirts? Who's doing your information? Who's doing any of the actual? Yeah, who's
design.
looking into that? Design.
Who is your quality assurance person?
Melendez?
Yeah, who's Gibbler?
Yeah, Anderson Aldo. It's strange, and somebody has to do something about that. Nobody's gonna buy your shirts.
That'd be like buying
They're probably at Jinglers or some type of second-hand store.
I don't think the rest of the world has Jinglers. I think that's an East Coast.
That's an East Coast thing.
Yeah.
Jinglers is cool. Just let you know.
I feel like we can't go through this segment as well without mentioning John Jones.
Oh, yeah. Jesus. I didn't even think about that.
Runs back to the car to grab money and then runs with money flying.
Yeah.
Isn't that like on the Monopoly board?
Well, if you watch the John Jones interview with Ariel Helwani, he claims that he went back to find the pipe with marijuana in it, but it had flown out of the console where he had put it when he hit the car. So he looked for it, couldn't find it in the time that allotted, and he took off. So apparently he didn't go back for money. He's like, why do I need money, man? I got stocks, I got bonds, I got all my money in accounts. I don't carry wads of money with me. But apparently he does carry condoms, a pipe, weed, a married man in his wife's car. So hey, maybe she's the one who's fucking around. Who knows? That's a
maybe
good
he likes
point.
to wank it.
Yeah, John Jones, full bladder splatter of the year. I can get behind that.
Yeah, good call, Nick.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I guess we got one more, and that's going to be our favorite fighter of the year. Trevor, why don't you go first?
I'm going to be going with my boy RDA. I've been watching RDA for years. I've been a big fan of him. Even in his losses, he was always an action fighter. I'm like, this guy seems like something that you'd play in a video game. I actually always play him in EA UFC. But because he basically fights the same way. Just flips, flying knees, great submissions, great jiu-jitsu, great wrestling. All around, and he put it all together this year. Fantastic fighter. I'm giving him the fighter of the year. And Luke Rockhold.
There you go. 2 fighter of the years. I don't think he understood it was singular.
Singular, yeah. I really wanted to just poke Luke Rockhold in there. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, Luke. It's hard to ignore Luke Rockhold, and I really have a hard time narrowing it down to one, but I've got to go with Robbie Lawler. Guy fought like 4 times last year, 2 times for the title. Just wars every single time. Starting off with that Matt Brown fight. That was, in itself, a hard-to-watch fight.
Yeah.
I guess 3 title fights. So, that's just craziness. And
knocked out Ellenberger all of a sudden there, too.
Yeah.
And then fought 2 months later.
Yeah. So it's hard for me to just give it to anybody other than Lawler. Love that guy. Like I mentioned in the first podcast, Lawler McDonald's my favorite fight ever. It's definitely in the run for best fight of the year. It's what I'll be voting for in the World MMA Awards.
Agreed.
I mean, if I get like I said, Rockhold's definitely on the short list behind Lawler. What do you have, Nick? Fighter of the year.
Really prepared with a fighter of the year, and just kind of off the top of my head, I'm going to have to say Albert Tumanov.
It's a very strange pick.
Well,
I would have expected Conor McGregor.
And now Tumanov impressed me, and I mean, not just last year. He's already got a win again this year before we did the podcast. So,
yeah,
he
he's not going to
up and comer guy. I've been excited to watch every time he's got another fight. So, yeah, off the top of my head, he gets it.
All right,
young up and comer. Yeah, that's a good pick though.
I know we didn't really think about it, but it would be kind of cool, like, prospects going in 2016. Who do you have your eye on, Greg?
Actually, Tumanov.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's really somebody I watched his first fight was against Matt Grice from the Halifax card. He did against 6'3", head kick KO'd him twice in one round. So that's in his aggression. Really reminds me actually of my favorite fighter of all time, Fedor Emelianenko, and it's probably one of the big reasons I'm a big fan of him.
I'm gonna go with Mustafa Magomedov.
Yes, holy
That
shit.
guy,
Killer.
yeah, killer, just an absolute killer. He's got the look of murderer across his head. So
Neanderthal.
Well, he definitely looks like he is there to fight, and I think that's something that you expect everyone's coming to the cage with, but you don't necessarily see it, and you can see it in every punch or strike he throws. Nick, anybody you got your eye on there going into 2016?
My Maribek Taisumov, sorry, I guess would be probably.
Can you say that again?
Maribek Taisumov.
Taisumov. I'm trying to can't really think of any fights that he was in this year.
Knockout wins over Alan Patrick and Anthony Cristodulo.
Oh yes, yeah.
In 2015, January and June.
I'll always remember that because Cristodulo is such a funny name, and he came in late, and he definitely looked like he didn't belong. But yeah,
head kick started off that KO against Alan Patrick.
Yeah. No, that's a good pick. There's so many. I'd be hard pressed not to say.
From Dagestan.
They're both from Dagestan.
Yeah,
exactly.
Really
There's going to be a lot
of
coming out
fighters.
of Russia.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting that UFC can't break the market for Russia up there, But they also just picked up pretty much the Russian UFC and put it on Fight Pass. So I think it's RC.
There's a lot of talent up there.
Okay,
Yeah. I mean, another couple people to keep our eye on. Sage Northcutt.
Yeah. Oh, totally, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he was baby spoon-fed some competition, but I think once he gets those numbers padded, then they're going to start, throwing him to the wolves, hopefully. And I think he actually has the skills to bring it in. He didn't look that great on the ground, but as a striker and just the way that he carries himself and from his fights in Titan FC,
his confidence,
or Legacy it was. He had the knockout in Legacy, 2 knockouts in Legacy. So it'll be interesting to see, if he can come around full circle and really make 2016 into the year of Sage Northcutt. I mean, Rose Namajunas, not really an up-and-comer, but somebody who cemented herself as a top 3 fighter. It'd be great to see her fight for the title.
Paige.
Yeah, exactly. And even Paige, I mean, she brought it. I mean, she's really got to work on her attack, but I think she's gonna have a good 2016 as well. There's just so many prospects in the UFC, and even beyond that, like Bellator's got so many potential fights. Oh my goodness. Like we're looking forward to Dada 5000. Like, come on, as if we gotta.
And Kimbo.
I think this is the year of Dada 5000.
Oh,
This is
God.
the year that he sweeps in and takes it. What's rightfully his, the Bellator title. No,
Yeah.
it'll be fun to watch though, and I can't wait to bring the
UFC.
review for that one. All right, boys. I think we're gonna wrap up unless anybody else has anything to mention about 2015 or UFC 195.
It's definitely the best year of MMA since I've been an MMA fan.
I can agree with that.
Yeah, it was a crazy year, and I imagine this one will be just as crazy.
Upsets, titles, loss, everything. It's
The amount of titles that changed hands this year is crazy.
changing of the tide. Hopefully, 2016 is identical, if not better.
Yeah.
And I see it being that way.
No one is safe.
No one is safe. Exactly.
That should be
That's
the
what makes MMA fan.
new UFC slogan.
Yeah.
Not the time is now. So, as tradition, let's go around and talk about our beers. I got to say, the 1772 Gahan IPA. It's a strong beer sitting at 6.5%, and it's doing its job. It tastes pretty good. I would definitely buy it again. There's just so many good IPAs to say it's my favorite, but props to Gahan, GahanBeer.com. This is a decent IPA. I would give it a 4 out of 5.
I gotta say, I'm actually on my second beer since we started this. You might have heard 3/4 of the way in. The clicker of the top of the can. I'm now drinking the Barking Squirrel Lager from Hop City, based out of St. John, New Brunswick. This beer is fantastic. It's the first time I ever had it, and I couldn't... There's a reason my sister drinks it. I know now why.
It's really
I'm gonna
good.
give this a 5 out of 5, actually.
Damn, it's very liberal.
Yeah,
He also just finished his 7% SPCA IPA, so that might have something to do with it. But Barking Squirrel is delicious.
I'm a big fan. I'm impressed.
Yeah, Hampton. What do you got, Nick? You got that Propeller
Revolution?
Revolution?
Yeah, Propeller Revolution. It's pretty good. It's 8%, so...
I would love to know what a Russian Imperial Ale is.
Russian Imperial Stout.
Oh, it's a stout. Okay, Russian Imperial Stout. Delicious?
It's good. It's thick, but it's good.
Nice.
Russia.
Propeller Brewing. So looking forward into January 2016. Jesus, I'm getting ahead of myself. We got UFC on Fox, or UFC on FS1, I think is what it is. It's the Dillashaw Cruz fight on the 17th of January. We'll be bringing you a we'll be bringing you a MMA Buzz episode following that show, which means we're going to be taking next week off. We're going to take a look at the events that happened over the previous 2 weeks. Going into February, we got all kinds of...
Anderson Silva back against Bisping.
It's going to be a amazing year. We're looking forward to it. Like I mentioned in the previous podcast, if you like us, let us know. If you don't like it, let us know why. We are MMA Buzz Radio on Facebook, MMA Buzz search on YouTube. We're trying our best here. We're still on podcast. We're going to try to bring you a video feed. We're going to try to sort that out within the next 2 weeks so that we can, bring you some moving images of us while we drink and talk about
see
UFC.
Our beautiful faces, drinking and getting drunk.
Yeah, so we'd like to hear from you about your preferred streaming source. We want to hear about you. We want to hear from you about everything. New segments. We're on our 4th episode now, so it's not too late to switch things up. We really appreciate the repeat listeners and everybody who's liking and sharing this on their social media of choice. We're just trying to bring you the best we can out of East Coast MMA. So I guess on that note, we're gonna wrap up our UFC 195 review and our 2015 Hangover year in review. Fellas, episode 4 is in the books.
Here's to a great year of MMA in 2016.
MMA Buzz, brought to you by The Beach Radio.